Hello and welcome to ThePrint. In this special video, we explain why tensions between China and the Philippines have reached a new high. We saw India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar travel to the country this week, where he said India backs the Philippines in upholding its national sovereignty, a remark that the Chinese Foreign Ministry rejected. Now, this comes amid rising tensions between China and the Philippines over disputed waters in the South China Sea. Tensions between the two countries have escalated over the last 2 years, mainly over two disputed territories, the Scarborough Shoal and the Spratly Islands. Now, the Scarborough Shoal is about 120 nautical miles west of the Philippine island of Luzon and is considered a part of the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. The Spratly Islands is a group of over 100 islands and reefs, and while the Philippines claims some parts, China lays claim to the entire archipelago. On 23rd March, the Philippines accused the Chinese Coast Guard of injuring its personnel in a water cannon attack near the Second Thomas Shoal. Manila summoned Beijing's envoy over the incident, which was the second attack at the disputed shoal within a month. Now, you must be wondering, what is the Second Thomas Shoal? It is one of the many disputed territories in the Spratly Islands that we just talked about. Many of these islands and reefs in the Spratly Islands are home to rich fishing areas and potential gas and oil deposits. But before we go any further, let's zoom out and assess the changing geopolitical situation in the region. In the last couple of years, we've seen an escalation of tensions between the Philippines and China in the South China Sea, marked by controversial efforts by the Chinese Coast Guard vessels and fishing boats in disputed waters, and even collisions between Chinese and Philippine vessels. Some analysts call this China's way of exploiting grey zone and hybrid warfare techniques. So what's happened in the last 2 years? For one, former Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte, who was viewed as anti-US, left office. If you recall, in October 2016, he had created quite a stir after announcing his quote-unquote separation from the US during a conference in Beijing, implying that he was aligning himself with China and Russia. And though Duterte attempted to scale back his remarks, it definitely cast a shadow over US-Philippines bilateral ties. That said, in April 2019, Duterte did issue a stern warning to China to lay off Pag-asa, referring to the site of Philippines' largest outpost in the South China Sea. At the same time, hundreds of Chinese Coast Guard and fishing vessels had surrounded the island. Now, ties with the US were re-energized after current Philippines President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. took office in June 2022. Under him, the two countries revised guidelines in a 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty, which stated that mutual defense commitments would be invoked in an armed attack on either country anywhere in the South China Sea. Last April, the Philippines gave the US access to 4 additional military bases, which allows the US military to store defense equipment and supplies on those bases. This is in addition to the 5 existing Philippine sites that the US had access to, bringing the total number to 9. Last April, both countries also held their largest military exercise in history, with nearly 18,000 soldiers from both nations taking part in drills. And these are just a few examples of how the US and the Philippines have been coming closer together in the last couple of years. Since we're talking about maritime tensions between the Philippines and China, we also need to look at what happened in 2016. At the Permanent Court of Arbitration, which is essentially an international court that sits in The Hague, Netherlands. Now, in 2013, the Philippines filed a case against China at this court, accusing Beijing of excessive maritime claims at Scarborough Shoal and in the Spratly Islands. With regard to the Second Thomas Shoal, the site of the recent water cannon incident, Philippines had accused China of, one, interfering with its rights of navigation in the waters at and adjacent to the shoal, and 2, preventing the rotation and resupply of Philippine personnel stationed at the shoal. Philippines also accused Beijing of conducting dredging, artificial island building and construction activities at disputed territories in Spratly Islands, such as Mischief Chief and Fiery Cross Chief, to name a few. China did not participate in the legal proceedings, despite being a signatory to the treaty that established this tribunal. In 2016, however, the tribunal decided in the Philippines' favor. It found no legal basis for China to claim historic rights to resources within areas it laid claim to in the South China Sea as falling within the 9-dash line. The court also found that China had interfered with Philippine petroleum exploration at Reed Bank. Now, Reed Bank is an underwater reef formation lying northeast of the Spratly Islands and off the Philippine island of Palawan. In 2019, it was the site of a major clash when a Philippine fishing boat sank after it was rammed by a Chinese vessel there. Now, in its judgment, the tribunal had noted that although Chinese navigators and fishermen had historically made use of the islands, there was no evidence that China had historically exercised exclusive control over the waters or their resources. While supporting the Philippines, countries like India and the US have repeatedly referred to this 2016 ruling as evidence of China's quote-unquote unlawful maritime claims. Just last August, China released its 2023 edition of its standard map, which included claims to Spratly Islands and Scarborough Shoal, as well as many others, despite the 2016 ruling. The map included the 9-dash line, a set of line segments detailing China's claims over various areas of the South China Sea. India, Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia and Brunei, just to name a few, contested the map as it included parts of what these countries considered a part of their own territory. This was the same map India contested, as it showed Arunachal Pradesh as part of what China considers South Tibet, as well as Aksai Chin. Thanks so much for watching. This is Pia Krishnankutty for ThePrint.